Hi, this is the Banksia brief, the aged care edition. I'm your host, Sean Matthews, and I just wanted to focus today on the positives and the positive areas in aged care and the aged care sector and the things that we're doing right. It's not always deemed that way when we have a look at the media, and the media like to portray a lot of the terrible things that have gone on in aged care, and there's been no doubt there has been, but I think there's been some really good improvement and opportunities, and to see that firsthand and to see the good work that a lot of the aged care providers are putting in and working with the consumers, the aged care workers is really phenomenal. So what I want to touch on today is just going to take you through a few areas that I think that we need to point out, and obviously are positive, but also we areas that we need to improve on, and that's part of the transformation, I guess, with the aged care sector at the moment. So if I take you onto the first area, and that is vaccination rates for aged care workers, currently at 78% of the 273,000 odd aged care workers. And that's first shot, first jab. So it varies from different aged care provider up and down the coast and all through Australia. But the good thing is there's still it's a good result, and it's moving in the right direction. And obviously there's reasons for that, which retrospectively we could go back and say, what if we did a lot of things differently? But it is what it is. The other thing too is to note that you're looking at there's still 60,000 odd aged care workers that need to be vaccinated, and coming into this government mandate of the 17th of September, that's looming very quickly, and obviously there's the what ifs. What if these people don't get vaccinated, and what if it's got to impact the aged care workforce? And so the government's started to extend the visa work permits for people that are overseas visitors. But at the end of the day, that's still, you're looking at training these people up and skilling them up in the interim. But look, at the end of the day, I think the aged care sector have moved well and done a great job with that. So I'm really pleased with the effort that's been made at the aged care provider level and working with the government on the vaccinations. So if I take you on the next little slide I've got here for you, the Widden transparency. I'm really impressed with Chris Mamaras and the Widden team, what they've done in a short amount of time, and looking at the transparency. Their True Colours report is a real reflection of understanding the transparency that's needed in aged care, and to be very clear on some of the costs that are involved, the feedback that's required, and putting that report on a quarterly basis, which gives people a very good indication of their compliance and opportunities for improvement. It's not saying that all aged care are infallible or make mistakes. All the aged care workers work extremely hard through the current regulations that are in play. But the good thing is that at the end of the day, this is a good indication. If I noted on LinkedIn I think it was last week or the week before, regarding Estia. Estia made a profit, and that's great, but the level of transparency that's required as well, it'd be great to all aged care organisations to show the leadership that wouldn't have done. So well done, Chris. Excellent effort, and one that I thought I'd share on this the Banksia brief. Next thing I wanted to touch on is the Canberra House. Canberra House in Canberra. It's a new dementia home, and it was officially opened in July. It's believed to be the first facility of its kind in Australia, catering especially for people with early onset dementia. And Rodney Jellick, Dr. Rodney Jellick, and Nicole Smith have got to be commended, because it's an amazing facility, and something that's been invested and funded through $1.2 million. The house in Gordon in the ACT was purchased, and I've seen the transformation of what they've done, and where they've gone to so far, and I think they've doing amazing work, and it should be commended and should be spoken about, because these sorts of community care models are the models of the future, and we need to start to look at and how we support especially people with onset dementia, and not just put them into a category where you put them in with the dementia in aged care, and an aged care home, which, if we all had a look at that, and start to expand our the way we think, then I think that it's definitely well worth highlighting this. So well done, Dr. Ronnie Jellick and Nicole. Best of luck with the future of Canberra House, and I'm sure it'll go from strength to strength. Next thing I wanted to say is a big thank you to all the aged care workers who struggle, the amount of regulation and paperwork that's required, and the level of, you're still supposed to provide person-centered care, and it is a struggle and a challenge. And I guess with a lot of things that are happening in the aged care sector at the moment, that will change, I guess, over time. And with the technology that's coming into play, and the ability to get away from paper-based processes, and maybe become a bit more technically inclined to adapt the technology and software that's available nowadays, which could save a lot of time and energy, and get you back focusing on the things that you like doing, and that is working with the aged care. But I want to say a real good highlight. We thank you. We thank you for all your efforts and what you're doing. The other thing I wanted to highlight was Frank Price, CEO of Royal Freemasons Benevolent Institution. I love that video he put on LinkedIn, really thanking his aged care team and aged care workers in general. I want to say how heartfelt it was, and that genuine leadership that shone through that video. So Frank, keep up doing what you're doing, because you're doing a great job for the organisation, and leading well. And everybody I've spoken to that I've been interacting with at Royal Freemasons Benevolent Institution are very, very much engaged in what they're doing, and feel well supported. So congrats again. Just wanted to touch on a couple of polls that we put on LinkedIn over the last few weeks, and one was, do aged care providers outsource catering and kitchen operations? Well, according to the poll, 47% said yes, 26% said no, and a hybrid, which is a 50-50 model, 21% said that was happening. There were only 43 votes, but there were about 3,734 views on that. But it gives an indication that maybe some of that, the kitchen area is becoming a bit hard to manage in-house, and that some of that outsourcing. The only problem with the outsourcing thing is there's costs involved in that, and I guess a lot of aged care organisations are balancing up the cost versus doing it themselves, and I think that's a discussion that needs to happen as well, as to how do you balance quality of service versus an output of food, and the quality of food that you're providing to your aged care consumers. That's pretty important. The second poll, do aged care providers outsource the cleaning operations in their homes? And 44% said yes, 29% said no, and the hybrid model was a 50-50. Again, 26% said that they had a 50-50 model, which would involve staff and potentially some outsourced cleaning providers. There were only 34 votes, but there were 2,101 views. Look, from that, I'd suggest that cleaning, there are more and more cleaning contractors moving into an outsourced program within aged care. I think the focus is on aged care providers has been on that person-centred care and focusing on their staff on that. But we've also got to ensure that the aged care provider and the cleaning contractors are connected, because obviously with the way that the auditing process works in aged care, that's pretty important. And also there has to be a link with the training that the cleaning and the catering people are getting prior to coming into the aged care home. So the next thing I wanted to do is talk about aged care movements, especially in the executive space. At the moment, congratulations to Olivia Wood, who recently was appointed the CEO of Presbyterian Aged Care, and given your history with the Presbyterian Aged Care, I see you've been there a while and you've been worked your way up. That's a great way to promote career pathways within aged care. So congratulations, Olivia. And Paul Sadler, who recently left Presbyterian Aged Care, has now been appointed the acting CEO of AXA, replacing Pat Sparrow. So interesting news afoot there. So what's new? I guess there's a lot of things that are coming out that are fairly new, and what we want to try and do on the Banksia brief is give people a bit of an insight as to what's going on and potentially where you go to get some information. There's so much stuff going out there, and many people offering great ideas and great information, but it's sometimes it's just easier to keep it in bite-sized chunks so that you can digest it. So what's new? I'm working with a company called Centrum Life, who have got a consumer engagement and lifestyle software for aged care. It's really interesting because it's a model that basically helps with the communication and feedback process within an aged care organisation. So it gives people instant feedback, and if we're going down that line of technology and most people having a handheld a phone, then there's obviously these software. There's no contracts involved in it, but it allows the communication of families to integrate and get involved in the community as such, especially in the aged care providers. So there's lifestyle management that's really simplified. There's feedback and complaints management that's redefined, and a lot of that comes out in the SIRS and the feedback and complaints area. But if you can quantify a lot of that information, and this is probably where it might come in handy for say Chris Mamaralis with Widden, some of that information might be readily available, and the feedback and information might be quite instant, because you can ask certain questions and get that feedback almost instantly. And it can be anonymous, or it can be with a name. All of those details are there. But the good thing about the software is for the families, it's providing families with updates and insights on the well-being of their loved ones. The consumer, it assists the consumers to be socially connected and really enjoy real-time communication with their families. And it's secure cloud-based. It's custom. It can be custom branded to your provider, and it manages all aspects of the consumer engagement and lifestyle management. So it's really an interesting opportunity. There's different modules that you can adapt and take on. If you want to book a demo, please go to centrumlife.com.au. Quote Banksy, Banksy, on your inquiry, so that we know how to track the inquiry. But if you go on there, run the demo. It's a free demo. They'll take you through the process. It's very simple. I went through it just recently, and it just seems like a an easier way in which to communicate without adding costly contracts, and it's all done via an app. So it's really exciting technology. So Centrum Life, it's brand new, it's only recent, it's going into other areas. There's other modules that break up into maintenance, so you can manage your maintenance if you've got an aged care facility, and dealing with people that have need things fixed, or areas that need to be cleaned and so forth. All of that information is via the software. So definitely, if you want to book a demo, please go to the centrumlife.com.au. Quote Banksia. Okay, next up, and probably the final thing I want to talk about today is the aged care recruitment. There's really got to be a change in the aged care, the way the aged care sector is looking at recruiting. And I know the Aged Care Workforce Commission are working on that, and have got a plan. Aged care cadetships are a great way to build pathways for the younger generation. And when I'm talking about the younger generation, I'm talking about people that are leaving school, may not know what they want to do, but would like to look at a career path within aged care. Obviously, looking at let's look at the pay and of which aged care workers are paid, and start reviewing that, because that's going to be pretty important, important in driving recruitment into the future. As we know, the average aged care workers are averaging around 52 years old. So let's start looking at that next generation and giving them career paths within an aged care organisation, which is going to be critically important. Nursing education, including the aged care and gerontology specialisation, making it something that people want to move towards, not move away from. That's going to be critically important. Incorporating healthcare and aged care together, like St Vincent's Healthcare and Calvary recently acquiring Japara, utilising the resource staffing based on needs requirements, and the ability to move staff from facility within your own organisation is critically important. And it also gives people an opportunity to for change, and changing from different roles and different providers is a good way to do things. Incorporating intergenerational child care and aged care. There's obviously people that go from a teaching role in early learning, but also may look at gerontology and working in that the elderly community space, some part of their career. So it's also good to have that. I've seen some of these aged care organisations with the where they've got an intergenerational childcare centre within an aged care home, and in creating that intergenerational talk. And we've seen the wonderful things the ABC have done on the the 4-year-old kids in that childcare centre, and integrating with the elderly residents of the local aged care provider. So great stuff there, and just general improvements on technologically looking at improvements to drive people towards your aged care organisation. That you've got technology set up, you've got that ability to entice people and say, look, we're regulatory, we cover all the regulatory stuff, but we're dealing with, we've got technology in which to manage that, so that you can focus on spending time doing the things that we like doing, lifestyle, not developing care, doing care plans in retrospect, but actually doing some getting involved in and spending some quality time with some of the residents. That's the important thing, and I think a lot of the aged care workers love that interaction rather than the admin part of it. But as we know, it's all part of the regulatory setup. So, if you've got any feedback on what I've just spoken about today, please go to inquiries@banksiaconsultinggroup.com. Let me know what your thoughts are, whether there's any interest in you wanting to talk to me about your products or services that you would like to promote or to let people know about. Please come on. I'm going to, the Banksia Brief will be a weekly addition to what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm really keen to, and I'm pretty excited about getting involved in and working with the aged care organisations on that transformation piece, because we really need to transform the aged care sector into a sector that we're really proud of. And I know we can do it, and I'm looking forward to that. So have a great week, rest of the week, and appreciate your time, and thanks for listening today. Cheers.